the individual beasts, trainers, their cards, their tokens, things like that. Just get you a look at what you're going to be getting out of the box if you pick up the game.
Right, sound was set up through the snowball, so.
Okay.
I got you after like the first sentence.
Okay. We're redoing some sound things because we're getting a new mic. I'm taking home the old mic to my place, so just needed to make sure that you can actually hear what I'm saying.
That's crazy. Who in their right mind wants to hear what we're saying? Okay. I'm going to set up some stream info.
All right.
So now that the sound is correctly working, if you could do the introductions and you could do a run through again, that'd be great.
All right. Hello, everyone joining us on the stream, joining us on YouTube afterwards. My name is Ben. I'm here with Chris. We are with KLTG, and we're going to be running through some Beastmasters Duel Tree and Tide stuff today. So last week we brought you a live gameplay stream, and this week we figured instead of doing that again, we would just go through the cards, the activation tokens, all that stuff, show you what you're going to be getting out of the box in Tree and Tide. So as we just finish up with getting some things set up here, we will jump right into it. Or if you'd like, I could actually just, I could jump into a few things right now. All right. Cool. Well, I guess the first thing is that we've got new dice. Of course, we have to have the blue and the green here so that you can distinguish who's rolling what. You can use whatever dice you would like, of course, but we figured, you know, everyone has D6s, but everyone could use some more D6s. So
nope, it's got to be blue and green.
Oh, right. Well, and there goes. And this is what happens when you put Ben around things that can be knocked over, is they will get knocked over. On top of that, we have our activation tokens for each side. So why don't we run over those quick while Chris gets things finished up. I'll go over the tree side first because that's what I played last time. That's what I'm the most familiar with. So let's start out with Camille.
Let's not, because I haven't even shared this.
Oh.
I was changing all the thumbnails and stuff.
All right. Well, we will take a moment then.
My bad.
And then we will jump in.
My bad.
Oh, here, I can remove your drink from the shot here if you would like.
No, I'd keep it there. Looks great. Nothing is more professional.
Correct. I mean, there was the Starbucks in Game of Thrones. You know,
we could do that. That's a sore subject for a lot of people, though. A lot of people.
Yeah.
Including the cast.
Yeah. Yeah, and actually, I didn't watch Game of Thrones, but I saw the screen caps, and I assumed that
really?
that was...
You're one of those people?
Yep. I saw the screen caps of it, and I assumed that it was just it was like someone had photoshopped it in there, and then the Photoshop went viral. So...
No, it was not. There was a definite cup in that scene. I have it on the computer. I can show you later. I'm sure they've edited it out for reruns and stuff and the DVD release.
Right.
But it was not edited out for that week's live video. Let's alert everyone.
All right, everyone has been alerted.
It turns out that when you want people to jump in and pay attention to any kind of stream, you need to tell people about it. So while I was sitting here, Ben slaving away on screen, I'm over here like, ooh, what thumbnail should we pick?
It's all right. I was born for the camera, baby.
This is why we develop. We do not do live streams every day.
It's true.
I'm not John Gilmore. I can't handle the live stream every day. That man has the charisma of John Stamos. And the intelligence of Woz from Apple. So, I mean...
Well, for those of you who have gotten here ahead of the thumbnails going up, thank you for joining us early. I can give you a little update, too.
We need those thumbnails.
Yeah. Hey, I mean, a good thumbnail is worth a lot of words, as they say proverbially. But so we can give you a little update on the Kickstarter while we're waiting to get everything set up here. We, of course, are funded. We are still funded. Many days later, we are. Are we on 4 days left on the campaign?
5 and 4 and change, almost
change.
5.
Okay. Yeah, so 4 and change to go. Still making some headway there.
It ends, I think, Friday night.
Okay, Friday night it ends. So yeah,
after you get paid and go home, back it.
Right. And of course, those of you who are Kickstarter veterans probably know this, but other people may not, that if you do back a Kickstarter project, it doesn't actually get charged to your card or whatever account you link until everything is finished, the campaign closes. You don't get charged right up front. So if it's one of those things where it's like, oh, I'll just wait until the paycheck comes in, don't worry about it. You can do it now and not have to worry about when exactly, if the paycheck comes in tomorrow or whatever. So yeah, these fun things that you learn from working on Kickstarter projects.
I'm going to hope that Facebook updates the thumbnail, because right now the thumbnail that Facebook shows is you on your phone, looking really disinterested, and the one on the Kickstarter is like what I requested.
That's really funny.
So
you got to tell me before you go live, man.
To be fair, I told Ben that I was setting stuff up, and so he was naturally staying current on current things.
I was looking at Magic the Gathering spoilers because Throne of Eldraine is dropping.
I am going to need to have my phone in the case that someone comments. I'm not moving the computer over there.
Okay.
So I feel like while it might be rude, I am going to have it so that should someone comment and want to talk to us, I'm not sure why.
Wonder if we could get a teleprompter set up.
Yes, in the future, when we run things through the DSLR, I'm going to have an output from here to the HDMI there, and then the comments section will just be up on that screen. If we decide to do any other developer streams, if that's something we'd like to do.
Do we develop other things? Is that a thing?
I am going to I'm crossing. Here we go.
All right.
I'm sitting.
All right. We're all set. Ready to jump into things.
Here we go. Leave this here for comments. Sound appears to be working fine, though feel free to comment if you think the levels or anything are off. Ben's too loud, I'm too loud, we sound dumb. Could you cross the stream? I feel like I'm going to need my water. Soda's not an adequate beverage.
I've heard you're not supposed to cross the streams, though.
It needs a... Well, except for if you watched Ghostbusters, they did multiple times.
Did they?
Yes.
I never looked that closely.
Well...
I mean, also, I was like 8 the last time I saw that movie.
All right, well, now that it has been shared, now that thumbnails have been set,
yes,
and I have a beverage, Ben's going to start us off with Camille for the tree portion of... Do we have the box?
Yeah, we sure
Flash these people the box. Drop the box on them. Look at that Dinotaur and that Aquater.
It's even got nice, cute art on the sides of the box.
And Ben's OCD is going to cringe because look at that, the box is not even on.
Oh man, and I even put that lid back on.
Oh my God.
I'm going to fix that quick here.
He's so embarrassed.
Yeah, oh man, I feel like I've built my reputation on putting the lids onto boxes so that they're oriented the same way.
He's so embarrassed.
Yep. All right, so let's get to some activation tokens here. So first off...
Can we just do one by one?
Yeah, sure.
I'm going to order these, but let's do your trainer, my trainer, and let's go back and forth.
All right, so we've got Camille. She's very straightforward. When she activates from the first slot, she can add 1 focus or 1 armor to any one of her beasts. Not going over 3, of course, because that's always the rule. So really, really straightforward, simple to use. Camille is the more beginner-friendly of the 2 trainers in this set, so it made sense to make it a nice, straightforward one that you can always get some good value out of.
She's also just popular. Like, not even for simplicity's sake, but she's the red-headed, freckled,
right, yeah. Yep, and she also has 1 beast that synergizes really well with focus, that being the Dinotaur, so That is another nice benefit there, is that she gets more than the usual amount of benefit from having that focus on her beast.
And if you are backing the Kickstarter, I forget what day it was, if you remember, that Sun and Stone was announced.
I think it was last Tuesday?
Something like that. Sun and Stone is going to be available through this Kickstarter as well. Now, you're talking about synergies with these beasts, but what about the Kingfisher, the Stone Golem?
Oh, sure.
Right? Because she can drop armor or focus.
Mm-hmm.
The Ignolupus with the focus.
Because one thing that the more mathematically inclined out there will know already is that when you put armor, which deflects damage, on someone who has more defense dice, that armor is worth more effectively, because the odds of you taking any amount of damage are reduced, and the damage that you do take is deflected by the armor that you have. So
I was also inferring the objective cards that to have armor capped, or take no wounds.
Right.
So
there you go.
And just focus is good.
It is.
Who doesn't like to roll up dice to high values?
Rolling up dice does feel really good. Didn't you roll up all of your dice to 2 the last time we played, or was that me? I think that was me.
I focused 1 defense the last stream that we had, showing everyone my prowess.
Right.
He was going to get knocked out and lose it anyways.
Right.
I will jump in with Titus. So Titus is interesting. Ben said that he is less user-friendly for a new player. I don't disagree with that, because the strategies are, I think, a little more subtle, the way that we built it. And I think we did this with both sets. So Titus has an interesting activation token that in the first, second, or third slot, he gives you that much momentum. So he's an interesting character in that Ben knocks out one of my beasts, I lose 2 momentum. Okay, I'll pay 2. I'll activate Titus from the second slot. I'll jump right back up, baby. I love that. But I also love the first turn play of spending 3 of your 5 to get 3 right away.
Yep. And Titus he has so many great ways of spending.
Yes, which is what I was just going to get into. So with him and that, not only can I spend 3 in the first round and just bump up 3 momentum, right? But then I've got a 0 and a 0 cost card.
Right.
So 1 allows me to immediately recycle. Now he's got objective cards that want him to recycle. So does the Radber Cat in the first set. So if you're integrating the sets, there's a good synergy. But he also lets you draw more.
Right.
So you pay 3, you get 3 momentum, immediately jump here, you get the star power from fan mail, and you get to drop maybe a card that Ben pulls a first play out. I say, I'm not going to use this card. Recycle it, +1. Love that. Love Titus, everything that has. Lucky Hat. We reworked the attack rerolls so that these are done before auto misses are removed. So when you have those auto fails that get removed, his rerolls now actually affect that. So this is a pretty powerful card. You set it up at the beginning of the round. I love that. And then this is probably my favorite card, and I think this is where Ben is spot on with the less user-friendly. Place an active or upgrade card from the discard or your hand into play for a beast in slot X. And X is the number of momentum you move to this card with him.
Right.
So you want to get that early momentum bounce, but then you could possibly be using this to play one of those +2 upgrades for really cheap. Turn 2. That's incredibly powerful. I love that. Also, you can discard it at the end of the first turn, knowing that you're setting yourself up for that ability.
Exactly.
So that you get the extra card in your hand and then play it from your discard pile. Great combos.
All right, so should I go on to Camille's cards here, or do you want to go through all your...
I just went through my objectives while I was doing those, which is re-rolling, recycling, and blowing your momentum in a fantastical fashion. But yeah, let's do Camille's.
Okay. So her first trainer tactic card here is Trainer's Wisdom. So this one... very cheap to use. It gives you 1 momentum and 1 beast power, which is always great for anything that costs 0. And then this is one that I like to activate early on a lot of the time because it lets you re-roll, or sorry, it doesn't let you re-roll, but it lets you consider auto fails as hits. So this can be really great on some attacks that, like, the Radber Cat, which has lots of dice a lot of them are misses.
Stone Golem.
Stone Golem with the wild swing.
With even Flick, his basic ability that can daze has 4 auto misses or 3 auto misses. So she's like, yeah, no, it doesn't.
Yeah, and we have the Dynatar here who has 4 dice, 2 auto misses, and one of them's a 4, so that's a very high scoring auto miss. So anyway, very nice there. You can, if she's at the beginning of your activation row or near the beginning, you can just throw a couple of momentum on this and benefit from that for the rest. As long as you remember to actually catch it when you roll, which I often don't on stream because I'm trying to play really fast, so we can move it along, but when you do catch it,
interestingly enough, I'd like to say, I'm going to credit you on stream, I'd like to say that's an imprint of you on this design. Because for those of you who don't know, when you watch our streams and Ben says these aren't the kind of games he would normally play, like with his wife or his game group, because your game group's bigger than 2 people anyways.
Yep.
But this is a game that he worked on, that he loves. Part of that, I mean, if you look at that, that's dice mitigation right there.
Yep.
There, you can invest enough in that where you have,
right.
less auto fails. Now the dice rolls are less luck based, and they are more like, do I want to spend a focus? Do I want to invest in cards? And I think that's partially your influence there.
Oh, thank you. And that is one thing that I like about a lot of the trainers in this is that we do have a fair number of dice mitigation trainer abilities, but they all work differently.
Yeah.
Which is really nifty.
Yep.
Because some of them are re-rolls, some of them are roll-ups, some of them are like this, your auto-fails aren't auto-fails. So very cool. Camille's second card here, we've got On the Mend. So this one costs 1 energy extra, and it gives you the 2 beast power. But then this one is basically kind of it lets you cheat on your economy a little bit, because it lets you redeploy and undaze a friendly beast for your trainer activation. So that is so activating your trainer already, you're probably getting your focus and your armor, and then on top of that, you can spend a little bit to get 2 beast power, which is great, and put someone else out there, saving yourself another energy in the process. And this also lets you recycle X cards of the beast that you just redeployed. Put them back into your deck, where X is the number of blue cubes you put.
It's interesting because we had the question of who does that synergize with card-wise at the beginning of the Kickstarter. And I think my response when I saw it in my head was everyone. That card literally works with every... Like, there's no beast that's not going to get knocked out. Even during our stream, you plugged the Kingfisher, for God's sake.
Yeah.
I mean... If he's not safe, I don't know who is.
Absolutely. And one of the things with the trainer tactics, too, is that there are sometimes games where one of them will never come up, will never be relevant to you.
Yeah, they're all situational.
Yeah, and that's kind of by design, because we don't want it to be where every one of them can be used at any given time, or this is always the right time to use this one. We want it to be...
That's too much choice,
right.
Like too linear.
Right. So we wanted everyone to have things that you can always activate and feel good about. But we also didn't want to make it, well, we need to make sure that every one of these cards hits their number of times it'll be used per game quota, because that's actually not, that's a design limitation, and it's a design limitation that I don't think really lends much to the game. I think it's better to have there be more variety to that.
Yeah, sort of like the draft. It makes the draft really key, right?
Sure, yeah.
So while On the Mend might be really useful, I'll get to this question that Adam just asked in a second here. While On the Mend might be really useful against me playing Valentina on a really aggressive team, maybe it's less useful against a Sheikah defense area control draft.
Absolutely.
But then the other 2 are because you want to hit more or you...
Exactly.
And really quick, Adam asked what our favorite is out of the beasts from the game.
From Tree and Tide? Ooh, boy. Oh, there's a lot of really good ones here.
I'm gonna answer her both sets, actually, Adam, because this is a really hard one for me. I'm attached to all of them, but I do have a favorite kid from each set.
Let's hear it.
I'm waiting for you.
Oh, okay. Out of Tree and Tide, I'm probably going to say the Aquater.
Yeah.
I tend to like really good generalist characters in games like this.
Yeah,
and the
it's a Swiss Army knife.
Yeah, the Aquater has good attacks, good defense, good speed, good abilities, good cards. There's nothing that it does better than anyone else, although it has really powerful positioning abilities, which is great.
But you don't look at it like the Golem and say, like, hold that point.
Yeah, you don't say this is your one thing that you can do.
Or Radbur Cat, swing big.
Right, like back when I played Hearthstone, I loved playing Druid, because all of the Druid's cards were you can do this thing, or you can do this completely different thing, and I loved that. So I would go with Aquater for this set.
And I said I would answer both sets, Adam. I'll tell you straight up, out of the first set, the Ignalupus is still my guy. First off, the art on all of his cards
Yes.
are my favorite of any of them.
Yeah. Ellie's art on the Ignalupus is just fantastic. There's a reason that has been our banner image.
Like our signature
Yeah.
image. The running through fire thing is
Yeah.
literally the best image that's ever happened. But out of this set, I am going to go opposite of Ben, and I'm actually going to say the Dinotaur. So now here's something interesting.
second
He's
for
my
me.
least played beast of all of the sets.
Interesting.
But he is my favorite, and that's why he's my least played. Because I bias. I don't want to be like, wow, he should be more powerful because I love him.
Oh, okay.
Right? So I have to like someone else play him so I could admire him from afar.
And you saw me really hammer the Dinotaur when I was playing as Camille last time, and that is my favorite out of this set. I would say,
Playing
for sure.
your positioning, I think he is the mirror to the Equator, though.
Yes.
Where the Equator is more generalist, he's like a hit and run positioner.
Right. He's they're both sort of the flagship of their side, I would say.
Yeah.
Like this is the one that you're sending in there to get down and dirty, to do the tangling with the opponent's team.
Yep.
And I would say for Sun and Stone, I'm going to agree with you. I'm going to say
You're
that
gonna
it's the
say
Ignalupus.
you're
Yeah.
gonna say the
Yeah.
Ignalupus.
The Ignalupus does
Close
remind me a lot
second
of. Yeah.
is for me the Aerogryph.
Yep. Me too.
Yep.
So we are in complete agreement on that one. It's like we designed this game together or something.
It's weird. But you know what? I have to say, so like when I say those are my favorites, God, I love drafting this game. The Kingfisher's defensive prowess in this game, and that we'll get to that later. But there are so many things. There are so few of these that I say I can't play with that.
Yeah.
And by that, so few, I mean literally one, and we're still balancing that set.
Yeah. Oh, is there another set that we're working on right now, Chris?
I don't know. I don't know.
I have a hard
Anyway.
time keeping these things straight sometimes.
Adam, thank you for the question. That's a great question.
All right.
My question would be, Adam, if you're still watching, what's yours? Out of either set, what's your favorite?
Yeah.
Ben, did you have more Camille stuff?
Yeah, one more. So this is Camille's 2-cost ability. It only gives you 1 beast power, so it's very expensive. It's called Rampage as 1. But it lets you move 2 of your beasts up to 2 spaces, and then make an attack action with each of them. So you're using their basic attack action, not the attack. There's no attack printed on this card. And this is, as we saw in the last game, this card is really critical for Camille, partially because it lets you do your, 1 activation, 2 attacks, which is great, but also because positioning in this game is so important.
Yeah.
And she has 2 beasts that on their unupgraded side start with just 1 movement.
Well,
So
first off, remember, we corrected the bark sprite. He
that's
has
true.
2 on the base
That's true.
card.
Okay, it's true. 2 on the
But the implications of that in draft,
right.
she makes low mobile teams like the Stone Golem plus the Leaf Dragon plus Kingfisher an extremely viable
Right.
like team to run.
Absolutely. And then of course,
Adam says really quick the Dinotaur is his jam.
Dinotaur's
He
your
says
favorite.
it looks awesome.
That's a great choice.
Rerolling attacks. I did stealth.
Yeah. Oh, and the stealth card, we saw that come into play last time and how important that
Also,
was.
Ellie's art for the stealth card of literally like if you're I grew up watching Jurassic Park. It is one of my first movies that I like genuinely remember. The tail in the brush
Right.
is like a scene from Jurassic Park 2 where they're being chased.
Yep.
And I adore it.
Yep. Absolutely. So this is kind of her powerhouse card, and one of the between these 3, there's pretty much always something that you can really be happy with.
Move and
doing.
attack.
Or deploy someone.
Attack better.
Yep. Yep.
Redeploy, recycle.
Yep.
All useful in their given. But I actually, again, her activation token is one of the most just. You're saying like it's generally useful all the time.
Yep.
And I 100% agree with that. Sometimes you don't need momentum. Sometimes I'm already at 6, so
Right.
like activating Titus is like. But that's the whole point of it,
Right.
is knowing when to activate. Hers is just like, in what situation do you have 3 defense armor on everyone and 3 focus?
Right.
Where you're like,
Yeah, it would be insane.
I don't know what I can do here. Can I jump into my first beast?
Yeah.
The undershadowed but often beloved We reference him as the glass cannon, the man shot. Our penguin-looking beast has an interesting ability where normally you would pay 1, 2, 3, 4 to activate your beast. He actually activates for 1 less in the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th slot. So his is actually 1, 1, 2, 3 to activate cost-wise. 1, 1, 2, 3. Now, interestingly enough, though, a lot of his bonuses only come from activating in the 2nd slot or greater. So he is a beast that you don't want to get to the 1st slot, because then not only is you're not taking advantage of his token, yeah, he still costs 1, but it's the combo effect of, he could attack from any slot. He, Ice Shard, his basic attack is a ranged attack that, remember, dazes if he's activated in slot 2.
Right.
So,
very powerful.
Yeah, very powerful. Of course, the trade-off is he has 5 health and 1 defense.
Right. Yeah,
and even when he flips to his other side, 5 health, 1 defense.
And we saw how difficult it was for Chris to make use of the man shot in our previous game.
I was so scared.
Lining up, I had my Dinotaur in the back there with stealth on, and lining up a shot and surviving was just really a faint prospect for you.
Well, you were first off, Ben was rolling like a killer in that game.
I was getting some good attacks.
And I was not. So 1 defense against the Dinotaur's attack, plus his rerolls, and the fact that he's literally moving and swapping people. I'm like, there's no safe damn place for this guy. So I had to hold him back. But interestingly enough, if I could have gotten him into the mix, I think they saw this once during the last stream, the Manshot has Tiny. And Tiny is a really interesting new ability that we added to this set. The Bark Sprite also has access to Tiny. When attacked, you can make the target a close friendly beast instead. So what I really like about that is it allows the Manshot to kind of take cover behind his larger friends, like the Aquator or like the Kingfisher, or when drafting the Stone Golem or the Leaf or the Hagaya. Really anyone with solid defense, like better defense than him, or full health. Right? Actually, oddly, him letting the Radbur Cat defend and then the Radbur Cat rolls dodge, also a good... Also a good
that's
combo.
A very good point. I hadn't thought of that.
But Tiny is new, and it's him. He doesn't have an activated passive. And then, of course, he has Tiny Frame when he upgrades, which I also really like. It breaks our movement rule, where now he can weave in and out of people's legs.
Right.
And I like that. His abilities, he introduced, and we posted this in one of the updates, I'm like 99% sure, his card, Icebreaker. A free action. This is the first free action that I had actually originally concepted in my head when we started talking about doing new card abilities and whatnot. He can just drop this as a free action for 1 and hit someone for 4 dice. Now it's a melee attack, so with the penguin, that your Manshot is in the thick of it to hit this card, right? And because of free action, you're not moving before you're doing it. If it's activated from the 2nd or 3rd slot, though, he gets an armor and draws 1. Now, as we talked about, him getting an armor is not as potent as the Kingfisher having 3 armor. Yeah. But it's still useful, because it's like giving him a 6th hit point at a minimum, right? And the draw 1, though, is really good, because you're playing out the free action, getting an attack, and then cycling in a new card. Yeah. So that's useful.
And the new card can be a tactic or an objective, as with all draw effects.
Yep. His Ice Beam, though, is like the staple of the Manshot.
And I mean, look at that art, for one.
Blowing a giant beam of ice from his poor little frame and body is about as good as it gets. Target each opposing beast in a straight line, ignoring distance. So this actually, again, the Manshot breaking all the rules here with movement, targeting, free actions. Now he's breaking it with distance. This just in a straight line from where he is to the edge of the arena. Before rolling, swap an armor for attrition on each target. That's how cold this beam is. But this beam only hits on even numbers. It costs +2 to his normal activation. Of course, in the 2nd slot, that's still only 3 energy for him. But it gives momentum, star.
So very good. Very good upgrade on it.
Very good move. Goes right to the discard, but very powerful. It's only got a 50-50 shot, though, of hitting with each of the dice. So you're hitting on average 3 to 4 dice right, for everyone in a line. It's not that good, like that it's scary, but it's definitely a good staple for him. And then, arguably, the most annoying card that Ben and I play against.
Oh, yeah.
Ice Cold. Again, a new card type. It's got the active, so it's going to rotate out. But opposing beasts, for 2 rounds, have to move their full speed +1 in a straight line. And you treat 4s that they roll while defending as auto fails.
Mm-hmm.
Now, this is funny because it prevents the man shot from attacking the turn that he does it, because it's his tactic or attack action. But it's cheap. It gives you a couple of stars, and it mucks with all of Ben's plans.
Oh, yeah. And especially with the new line of sight rules, and you saw how hard it was for me to ever attack anything with the Bark Sprite, because I had to be in very specific spots to do that, and it was like,
that was
I can
also
shoot
our,
all the
our
way.
terrain setup mucked up that whole middle area.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Daze by KO or attack action. Pretty simple. Activate from the 2nd slot. And he has a 3 trophy card that is an end gamer. This is a 3 trophies when all of your beasts are powered up.
Right.
So this is something that when you draw at the beginning of the game, which I did, mulligan.
Yeah.
Drop that card back.
Yep, and that's a place, too, where being able to recycle cards is great, because you want to draw that card in, like, the last round of the game.
Yep. Which I also did.
I remember that.
Yeah, I dropped that the last round of the game. Who's your first beast?
Actually, while we're on objectives, I forgot to do Camille's objectives, so let's do those now. So, we've got 3 here, of course. They are all... they're all doable, but they all take some setting up, like any good objective. So, I guess the first one doesn't. It's just, this one is just you draw it into your hand, and you decide how lucky you feel, because it's score immediately if you roll 2 or more auto fails. So this one is sneaky because it's actually better in later stages of the game when you have more dice that you're rolling for your basic attacks a lot of the time. So this one, I usually, if I have it in my opening hand, I usually mulligan it, and then I usually score 2 auto fails in the first turn, and then feel terrible.
See, and that's a card I don't mulligan in the beginning, because in the beginning I don't want to put any effort into her dice mitigation card. That's the card I invest in late game. So the first turn I'm usually doing her rampage as 1.
Right, getting into position.
Yeah, and so that card to me would be perfect for that, unless I'm using the Bark Sprite, right? Because everything hits.
Right. Right.
But I roll no dice.
Yep. All right. So then we have On the Mend, which is score immediately if you have only 1 beast in the arena, just immediate 2 points.
I did that to Ben.
Yep.
You guys got to see that.
You saw how suboptimally I played for, I think, 2 rounds of that game. Just going, he's going to knock one of these guys out, and I'm not going to redeploy Bark Sprite until he does. So I spent a lot of extra energy, but eventually I got those 2 points, and it seemed like it worked out. I didn't win that game. But...
Yeah, I absolutely loved it, because I was playing like, I can't afford to hit anyone.
Right.
It was hilarious to see you finally play that and be like, finally!
And then finally, 3-point card, 1 rotation. Have 5, at least 5 momentum during the upkeep step. So
that's 3 trophies, because it's harder for her to do than the other 3 trainers.
Right. It's pretty much free for Titus to get up to 5 momentum at whatever point.
But he doesn't have a 3 score card for it.
Correct.
And actually, all the trainers don't necessarily have a 3-point card, so it's another thing. But if you could pair her with, the man shot or someone who can pull a lot of momentum, it can be doable in 1 round to pop, that card out. Who's your first beast? We're gonna, I skipped over Ben's objectives for whatever reason.
That was my bad. But I think first we will go, why don't we do the Leaf Dragon first? Because it is the big, beefy frontliner of the team. So we'll throw it out in front.
If anyone has a preference between the Kingfisher or Quater when I go next, sound off. Otherwise, I'm just going to pick.
All right, so first we'll do the token. From the 1st or 4th slot, remove 1 wound. Pretty simple. It's a leaf dragon. Dragons, serpents often associated with like medicine and recovery and things like that. Being all leafy, it's very, very regrowth flavored. So another very simple one. But one that comes into play a lot. And
similar, to the Dracommander in the first set, who activated in the first
get a star.
Yep.
Yep. It's also important for the Leaf Dragon because despite having a whopping 8 health on this side, it only has 1 defense, and it has no defensive ability on it. So its ability is Toxin, which means that during upkeep you give 1 close beast 1 attrition. This upgrades to 2 attrition on the other side. And its ability is Constrict. So 3 dice, misses on 1s and 4s, and if you roll a 6, you give Daze, which is great.
It is.
On the upgrade side, you also get to look at some of your opponent's cards from their hand if you spend a momentum, and you get a better Constrict ability and additional speed.
So the looking at hand thing we did not do in our stream, but I will tell you that remote playtesting, it is bonkers how much people want to see other people's cards.
Yeah.
And to think he is, by the way, I want to point out how unique that is. He is the only beast or trainer in the first 2 sets that has the ability to see what the other person's holding.
Yep. And, I mean, we were just talking about how Chris was sort of guessing what I was trying to do with my objectives, and Leaf Dragon is a way of, you have to, you can not necessarily look at all of their cards, but you can pull a couple of them.
I don't think I want to see what your tactic cards are, because you might not even use those.
Right.
Like if you saw I had a transference, so what? But if you see that I'm going for like control the same objective you controlled at the start of the turn, now we're getting somewhere because I'm going to knock you off that.
Or I'm just going to send Dynatar over and switch hit you to another spot.
Yep. So that's,
Then we've got, so for cards here, the double card for the Leaf Dragon is In Pursuit. Just gives 1 beast power, costs 1 additional energy. 4-die attack that hits on 3s, 4s, and 5s. So again, this is a really good one to use with Camille's card, which lets that 6 hit if you roll it.
Well, and you use that during the stream almost right away.
Yep. And it is moved to a target you have line of sight to before you make the attack. Make the attack, and then you draw a card. So really nice to get into position, given that the Leaf Dragon is so slow. You can do it without having to spend Camille's Rampage as 1, and then
and
you
it
can
replaces
make your attack,
itself with the draw.
And I love tactic cards that let you draw because I really, really love getting additional objectives, just because the more objectives you're drawing, not only the more points you're getting, but you're able to cycle through that deck faster and find the things that you want. Question on that?
We might have made a mistake.
Oh, yeah?
Adam just commented, he says first 2 sets, huh? So we're getting more than just 2 sets. And then he says that the Unified Rulebook shows 2 more trainers and colors.
We might have to just pull this video off the internet now because that sounds incriminating. Could be used against us at
I
some
think
point.
for Adam, maybe we do talk about something else at the end of the stream.
Oh, sure. Yeah. Maybe. Maybe stick around.
Yeah, Adam. For you, we might just spoil something.
Good catch, by the way. Next, we've got this is not an upgrade, this is another card that will rotate out after 2 turns. Taunting Pose. 1 energy, 2 stars. It's a free action, so again, you can do it whenever on your turn.
This is the most annoying card on that side for advised setups for your first game.
Allied beast close to Leaf Dragon may not be the target of an opposing beast's attacks.
That's right. He becomes a bodyguard.
Yes, and you can see when we have really cluttered board states, like in the live stream that we did, you might not be able to get to the other beasts. Yeah. And you could even have setups where you have a couple, because you can't move through opposing beasts, you can't shoot through opposing beasts, so you have, beast here, Leaf Dragon, and then this is all blocked off. And you can set up and that's one of the reasons it has to rotate out, because otherwise you could probably create some pretty corrosive board states with it.
But then you have Camille's ability to recycle if needed.
Absolutely.
So.
And then finally, we got to see this one go off in the last round or 2 last time. Corrosive Breath. Really fun card. This is just a fun card every time it comes down, at least if you're the one playing it. 1 extra energy. It gives you 2 momentum when you play it, which is great. It is a 5-die attack. It only hits on 3 and 5, so again, really good with the score a bunch of auto-fails card or the getting to count your auto-fails as hits card. But it is reach 1, so it's a melee attack, but it can attack at an additional range.
So why is that important? Tell them why that's important, because we did have that question early on, why is reach more important than just range?
So, for one, with ranged attacks, you can't get support under any circumstances.
So there's no dice mitigation.
Correct. Whereas with reach, it is still a melee attack, just done at a additional spot out in this case. So you can still get your support. It also, there are some things about, I believe that this gets around some of the targeting restrictions
Yep.
of ranged as well.
Yep.
So yeah, it's basically it's more restrictive because this is reach 1. You can't shoot someone who's further away than that, but it does also mitigate some of the problems. It basically brings all of the benefits of a melee attack.
You're not shooting.
At a
Think
range.
Dulcim from Street
Yeah,
Fighter.
yeah, that's a good analogy.
Yeah, you're still punching them. It's just a much longer punch.
Absolutely. And so this also has explosive 1, which means that all enemies that are within 1 range of your target also get hit by this attack.
This is a new keyword.
Yep. And the effect is, before giving wounds, remove 1 armor for each auto fail you rolled. So
We should point out too that it's the same die roll though. The explosive 1, it's the same. You're not rolling for each person being exploded upon.
Right.
So if you're hitting all 3 beasts, it's the same die rolls applied. The game doesn't really slow down when you explode.
And you can see too, like if you activate Camille before using this card, you give
Focus.
the Leaf Dragon a focus, you mitigate your highest auto fails, all of a sudden you're just plopping 6s on everybody.
And that's why against the Leaf Dragon you cannot clump your people.
Right.
Because of attrition that he gives.
Yep.
Which, did you say the other side of his card gives 2
2
attrition?
attrition, yeah.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
That's terrible. With
Yep.
the man shot, that's literally a death sentence.
Yes.
That's the next time someone breathes on you, you KO.
Yep. All right, and then for the objectives here, we have 2 instants. So the first one is active team. 2 trophy points. Score immediately if each of your beasts has an upgrade or active card in play.
Which
Another-
is, yeah.
Another late game one. We actually saw me gamble on this one before.
I can say that when we made that card, we gated a beast. We gated a beast out. Because if you remember, the Ignolupus has no active or upgrade cards.
Right.
So you can use him with the Leaf Dragon all you want. Just understand that then that card
Is a dead draw.
is a dead draw.
Yep.
So...
But, you know, in the future, maybe there will be beasts that have multiple or only
But now
upgrades and
here's
active
yeah,
cards.
but now here's another reason we gated those 2. Do you remember the amount of attrition that the Ignolupus gives?
Yes.
And do you remember the bonuses he gets for things that have attrition? Right. So his moves all get powered up.
And
The
I
more
believe-
attrition you have.
And I believe the Ignolupus also has something that benefits from focus, right?
So
on a
putting
Camille
him,
team-
yeah, putting him with the dragon would have created one of those meta builds that we were like, we don't want those.
Yep. So you're basically giving up a 2-point trophy. to
You
run
are
those 2 together.
creating a total of actually 2 dead cards, one from the Ignolupus and one from him, by having them in there. And 2 of 24 cards literally being useless. That's terrible, because we don't go through many games where we see every card.
Well, 2 of 12 for the objectives.
Yeah, yeah.
Then we have Double Dragon. So 2 points again, score immediately when you play a second Leaf Dragon tactic card this round. Also, one that takes a little bit of hand sculpting to do sometimes, but it is one of those ones that if you really want to plan for it, you can get those 2 points.
Yeah, and it's one of those things, too, where if you have... it does take planning, or it takes a little bit of luck. Like doing In Pursuit and then getting the draw, and that pulls Taunting Pose,
Right.
and then you dropped it, yeah.
And that is literally exactly what I did
Yep.
previously, because I had In Pursuit, and I said, well, I've got a 1 in 3 chance, and this game's almost over, so I just played it, and I got Taunting Pose. So there you go.
It's a good play.
Yep.
It's a good play.
And then finally we have Corrosive Opponent. So this one takes 1 rotation, 2 points, end the round with more momentum than your opponent. This is a very, very hard objective to score in the base set, because...
This requires some planning.
Well, the
It's
issue
not
that
hard.
you'll run into with this is that you have to end two rounds, not consecutively, but 2 rounds with more momentum, which after you end the first round, your opponent knows that you're gunning for that, and has a pretty good chance of being able to turn that off with Titus's activation.
So there's nothing that Titus can do, though, to remove attrition and wounds. So what I like to do with that card is I like to mulligan for it very early. I want it in the first turn. I want to stack damage on all 3 of my opponent's beasts. And then I want to drop at least 2 of them before the round ends.
Sure.
End the round with more, okay? Then I want to repeat that same cycle not the next round, likely the round after. So this is like a round 2 and 4 scoring card. If you can pull that off, which I've done pretty reliably, what are you looking for?
There it is. I'm looking for the Dinotaur's token. Keep going.
If you can pull it off, it's really good. And it is possible to pull off pretty reliably because the other advised recommended setup has no way to mitigate that. Yes, they know that you're going for it. The arena's not big enough to hide, though. So you are going to get hit.
Yep.
And as we saw, the man shot is not exactly a bastion of defense. So.
Yep.
Okay, so that is, you went through Camille and the Leaf Dragon?
Yep.
I did not hear anything, so I'm going to jump right into the Kingfisher.
Do it.
So you've noticed the Kingfisher meatball is essentially 2 spaces worth of, I'm just going to throw them, 2 spaces worth of meeple. He does take up 2 spaces. We mentioned this in our stream.
Considerably bigger profile there.
So when I read his abilities, you're going to be like, that is crazy. Crazy powerful. And I won't disagree with you, but the trade-off is that he has how many additional spaces that can be supported against?
2.
Now, we also saw you were able to do in pursuit because he was jutting out into that lane.
Drawing line of sight to the Kingfisher is very easy.
Very easy.
It's really coming down all of a sudden.
Yeah, I might have to, after the Kingfisher, I'm going to go close a window or 3.
All right.
So Kingfisher has 3 health, though. That's trade-off number 1, right? He has 1 speed. Now, when you move, you can, of course, reposition him legally. So you can, move and then turn. So technically, he has 2 movement.
Kind of.
But not really. 1 speed, okay? But 4 defense.
Right.
That's where he shines. That's more than the Stone Golem. Yep. Even with his rerolls, that's more than the Stone Golem. Now, on his base side, his Vice Grip ability is okay. It's a melee attack, 3 dice, misses on odds, but for each odd rolled, for each odd defense rolled, give 1 attrition. So I roll 2, 4, 6, right? Let's say I roll 3 2s. Ben rolls 3 3s. You just got 3 attrition, homie. That's it. Exoskeleton, though. 2 armor during your upkeep.
Right.
So we go through the upkeep phase. Everyone's raising their boom. 2 armor. We flip him over. Still gets the 2 armor. Gets 2 speed instead of his 1. And Vice Grip gets more powerful by 1 die. So what does he get? Well, he gets imposing. This dude's giant. He takes up 2 spaces. You can spend a momentum for him to remove all the focus or armor from a target within 2 spaces. Against the Stone Golem, against a focused Dinotaur. This guy is a powerhouse with that. That is the best debuff we've seen in a game. In a game. Getting to his cards, okay?
And what is the activation token?
Oh, I forgot. I blanked on the activation token. That's my bad. It is the mirror to your Leaf Dragon. Remove an attrition. So in the first and second slot, he can actually dump attrition, and that's his low health. If he has attrition on him, that's like...
Right. It's over.
Which we saw during that match.
Yes, we did.
Yeah. I couldn't remove all of it. Okay, so he has 1 copy of Crunch. Now, Crunch is his powerhouse attack. 6 dice, only 1 die misses, Ben. Before rolling, place a die at 6, the value 6, for each attrition your target has.
Right.
If it has none, not only is he going to hit you for 6 dice with only 1 auto fail, but he's going to give you an attrition for any 6 or 3 he rolls. Boom. Now, this was corrected. That's changed to just 3s. Which is the auto miss. So if he, die misses, it gives attrition instead. Then his other one-shot card is Geyser, which is probably another one of my favorite art pieces. It's a giant crab on a water chute. That's as good as it gets. This is not an attack ability. This is him popping someone up with water, and it says if you roll any successes, you're going to roll 2 dice. 4 of the 6 sides hit. If you succeed at any of the 2 dice, move your target up to 3 spaces instead. Now, here's the interesting thing. I can use this to get an ally out of trouble. I can use this to get an ally into trouble. But I can also use it on one of Ben's guys, and if they enter a space next to me while I'm moving them, I can vice grip them for free.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like a utility mixed with an
card. It's like a druid card.
But also, he doesn't have a lot of movement. Right. So it's like his version of the Taunt or the In Pursuit, right? But less
in
aggressive.
Reverse, sort of.
Yeah. Now, his twofer is Transference, and I love this card.
Yes.
This card requires some planning, though. We can agree on that. Because it's going to give you 3 stars, though, which is really good. 3 stars is half of an upgrade, right? So both of these cards, you're paying 4 energy, and you're getting a whole upgrade. Right. Okay? But remove any number of armor on him to remove that many wounds and give that number of armor to each friendly beast close to him. So I've got everyone huddled around him. I plug this card. I get 3 stars. Remove his 3 armor. Remove his 3 armor. And immediately remove 3 wounds from each beast and drop 3 armor on him.
Mm-hmm.
But then I've left my Kingfisher vulnerable because now he has no armor. Of course, he has 4 defense, but we saw how that went last game where I leveraged my stuff to save the Aquater, and that's why he got knocked out. Yep. So it's timing and skill on that one. His objectives are, I would say, a little bit easier. Score when you max someone on attrition. This is doable. And, could you imagine him and the Leaf Dragon on the team?
Yeah.
Attrition. Boom. Done. Here's a point. Defensive KO. Score immediately if you KO a target without attrition, focus, or armor when attacked. I actually pulled this off on you the last game and got an additional trophy for it. That's actually not that hard. But what I used to do that is I hunted your Bark Sprite.
Right.
And I just said, there's 4 health. Boom. Done.
Yep.
Have a beast with maximum armor or focus at the end of the round. This needs to be done 2 times, so 3 times total to get 3 trophies. So when I play this, Ben knows I've got 3 trophies coming, so he's got to force me to leverage those focus tokens or remove my armor tokens, which you also did during that stream. Mm-hmm. And that is the Kingfisher, one of my, like I said, I love all of them, but he is definitely unique.
Yep. Absolutely. Were you going to run and close the window?
I'm going to run and close the window. I will be back in 1 second if you want to jump in here next. Who are you doing
Sounds
next?
Good. I'm going to do Bark Sprite. So, Bark Sprite is the next one up. This cute little guy here who's on the side of the box. So, activation token is interesting because when you activate this guy, it gives +1 to your maximum energy. So you get nothing out of it this round, but next round you'll have 1 more energy to spend than you would have otherwise. But this only happens when activated out of the 2nd or 3rd slot. So effectively you're spending an extra energy from the 2nd slot, if you do it from there, this round, to move this guy a little bit sooner, and then have more every round for the rest of the game. And I found that I usually try to activate this guy twice from the 2nd or 3rd slot, usually in the 1st and 2nd or 2nd and 3rd round. I think it might actually be a little bit of a trap to do it too early, like in round 1, because you just have so little energy to throw around in that round, and then maybe starting round 2 might be better. So that's what that guy does. Really interesting design space there. The card for the Bark Sprite here, you'll see it says, well, I don't know if you can read it from over there. You'll see it says Speed 1. This is going to be Speed 2 because of how we changed the way that line of sight works. We needed to be able to reposition the Bark Sprite more easily, but so pretty low stats, 4-2-2, but a ranged attack that has no auto misses, and actually can let you gain an energy if you roll 3 of a kind. Just 3 dice, so not very likely to happen, but we did see it happen in the previous game. And then its ability is Nurture. Spend a momentum to remove 1 wound from a target within 3 spaces, which is really nice and very flexible because, well, 1, we'll see that can score you an objective with the Bark Sprite. But also just having a nice, reliable way to sync your momentum that you've been building up is really, really handy and can both save you energy and keep your opponent off of objective points, or trophy points. So for the Actually, I'll just grab all of these here so I don't have to rifle through here again in a minute. So we have an active card here, Natural Archer. So this one is going to score 2 beast power, costs 0 extra energy, and this lets you ignore line of sight when making ranged attacks, which, as we just mentioned, is harder to do now, so that's really important. And also when using nature, you get to roll 6 dice and pick whatever 3 you want, instead of just rolling 3. So you're much more likely to get your extra energy, you're much more likely to get your, like roll 3 of a kind, objectives completed, things like that. And it costs 0, so it's a really powerful card for that, but again, it only lasts for a couple of rounds. Then we've got Retreat, which gives the Bark Sprite Tiny. It's an upgrade, so just like the Man-Shot, being able to break the rules of how movement and positioning works. It costs 2 energy to do this, but it gives you a momentum and a beast power, and when the Bark Sprite gets redeployed after being KO'd, it gains 2 armor or 1 focus. And with something that has as low health and defense as the Bark Sprite, getting an extra 2 armor that's like a 50% health bar increase for you. And of course, as we've noted before, focus is just great, especially if you've got something like Natural Archer out where you can roll 6 dice and then roll them all up to whatever and then choose the 3. So just a much higher chance of getting 3 6s instead of getting like 3 3s or 3 4s or something disappointing like that. And then the twofer in here is Sprite Shot, which is another support ability. So 1 extra energy, it gives you 2 momentum, and momentum, as we know, is great, and then it lets you heal your people later on and stuff like that. You roll 3 dice, auto-missing on 1s and 3s, but it actually isn't an attack. It's made against an allied beast, and each success gives 1 wound, 1 armor, or removes... Oh, sorry, gives 1 focus, 1 armor, or removes 1 wound in any combination. So it's kind of a healer, like your WoW priest or something. So a really nice complement to this team that already has some damage mitigation on it, but doesn't have great defense, so that you can just keep your guys out there for longer, deprive your opponent of points, things like that.
Sneaking in.
All right. Then for Bark Sprite Tactics, you've got a 1 point, 2 point, and 3 point. So the 1 point is remove at least 1 wound from an allied beast. Do it twice. Get the point. Simple enough. Which I think I had this one for a while last time, and you just spent 2 rounds not attacking any of my beasts. Then we've got Faster, Quicker, 2 points. It takes 2 rotations, and it's activate a beast more than once this round, which is usually pretty easy with the Bark Sprite because you often have a higher energy pool, so it's easier to activate the same person multiple times. And then finally, Double Down. Here's your roll 3 of a kind, 3 points. Have to do it 3 times, but as we just noted, it's pretty easy to fudge your rolls with the Bark Sprite, so it makes it easier to do that than it would be with a lot of others.
One of the most dangerous combinations that I've seen is actually a tempo drafted team that headlines with the Bark Sprite and the Radbear Cat.
Yeah. Oh, because you have so many, because the Radbear Cat's rolling you 6 every time.
Well, and he's also activating from slot 3 and slot 1 for a discounted price.
Yep.
And what ends up happening is you throw out his upgrade in the first round that gives him the ability to quick attack, then quick attack.
Yep.
And then you just start pumping the Bark Sprite in the first round or 2 in those higher slots, or in the slots that get him his +1 energy. Yeah. And so then you end up with really dangerous, like quick, recycles, activate, quick, recycle. Yeah.
Yep. But also you'd want to note, too, that that is a very glass cannon team that you've just put together that you're relying on.
Well, it's definitely a big swing team, and it can miss. But now imagine that you're using Camille and you're mitigating those lower auto fails.
Right.
Now the Radbear Cat is swinging 6 dice at you, and all of them are hitting. Regardless of your 4 defense.
Right.
They might all be high rolls. Maybe he's focusing. You know what I mean? Like, that's a scary team.
For sure. All right, so what's up next?
Well, next we are, I guess, going with our headlining beasts.
So
I'll be wrapping this up with an Aquator. So the Aquator's tile for activation is a little bit different. It has a 2 and 3 slot activated ability that adds a momentum cube immediately to your pool. Now that's powerful because it can be dropped on that debuff with the Kingfisher that removes someone's focus or armor. It could be put on his profile card, which I'm going to get to in a second. Of course, the max in that pool is 6.
Right.
But if you're at 5, if you're at 6, but you weren't at 6 at the start of the turn, you know, that could be helpful. So the Aquator, as Ben said, is really overall good. 5 health, 3 speed, 2 defense. Good overall stats, right? He's got swimming, which in the game, swimming now, if you're in a water space, all your dice get rolled down after auto fails are removed. So you can literally never roll a natural, like, you can never hold a rolled 6, right? His is just cancel that.
Yeah.
He can do that. And he can support in the water, because as we know, it's really hard to support someone else when you're, like, busy swimming.
Yep.
You're like, yeah, I'm not worried about him attacking me, so go ahead. That's not true at the Aquator. So he can support from the water as well as not roll down dice.
Yep.
Okay? Awesome.
Which is very nice on the Tree and Tide board, as you've seen, because there's a lot of water spaces there.
But there's also the Oasis area on the Sun and Stone board that has... Yep. Okay. And then another board that has...
some water.
Yeah.
Perhaps.
In a space or 5.
Yeah.
But then he has Survivalist on his first side, which allows you to spend one of those cubes to recycle a card and gain a star.
Mm-hmm.
So you're gaining that power up right away just by tossing a cube. That's not even an action. It costs you no energy. You're just tossing a cube to get a star and recycle a card. Aqua Tail from Jump Street, 5 dice, hits on 2s, 4s, 5s, pushes 1 and flips one of their defense die. Now I like this because he can't roll and keep 6s. But he can flip your 6 defense to a 1.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And so I love that idea of, like, his tail is just this giant, like, pop, you know, that throws people off.
Yep.
Ability card, he has got Whirlpool Shot, which you saw during the...
used to great effect.
Yeah, during the stream. Whirlpool Shot is a ranged attack. So Aqua Tail's a melee attack, pretty standard, but Whirlpool Shot gives 2 stars, ranged attack, 5 dice, misses on 1s and 3s, which is fine because you want to use this at a decent range anyways. Could hit at 2s, I guess. You may move any beasts within 2 spaces of your target to a close space of that target. Now, I use that defensively to put Ben's creatures kind of out of whack.
Right.
But what you could also do is, and this is a Quater Dynatar combo, is hit him with a Whirlpool Shot. Flip the Dynatar to the other side.
Yep.
Get him across the arena. Or, if he's with the Leaf Dragon, move the Leaf Dragon in. Get him in there. I love this because it's not friend or foe. Yep.
Yeah, the modal cards that you can use whatever way you want.
And I mean, that's the only effect. It just deals damage and moves people, but you really feel that, like Ben said, moving people off of objectives, moving people onto objectives. Right? What if Ben's on that center space and I move him onto the objective, close to you, but onto the objective?
Yeah, and what we saw when you were using it against me before is that you were able to put my people so far out of range that I had to spend most of a turn just...
suboptimally
most of my round
just,
all right, I spend an energy to move
I have
one spot closer to you.
But I put you in that position. Ben had to use Rampage as 1, you remember that?
Yep, that was 2 extra energy, and I couldn't even attack with either of them. I just had to, all right, you two get 2 spaces closer to the action.
And that was me using it defensively. Again, had I been on the offense and had, that plan in mind, also powerful. His twofer is actually a free action called Dangerous Sense. Dangerous Sense is going to be 1 energy. It's going to be a star and a momentum coming your way. But this is probably another one of my favorite mitigations on this side. You get to rearrange your activation row. And not only that, but then you get to move the Aquator to any water space on the board.
Which again, plenty of water spaces.
That is
very good mobility.
Well, and so let's say you're at the starting space on the Sun and Stone board.
Oh yeah.
Boop.
Yep.
After rearranging the board. That's great.
Well, and so many of the objectives are right by the water in the Tree and Tide board too. That basically gives you free in over 2 from anywhere.
So what I think about that's interesting with this as a free action is, and think of this in the draft sense, I can pop this for 1 energy, move him to maybe support, like set up some kind of support situation or take an objective, rearrange my activation row, and then pick who to activate.
Oh yeah.
So I'm literally setting myself up to be like, oh, I don't like what Ben's doing. I have 4 energy, I know what I want to do with it, but I want the Kingfisher to go next. So I'm going to swap it so he's not in 4th slot. He's in 1. That's huge, because that's the economy breaking thing. That's huge. And then another one this is another one that irritates Ben all the time. River Run.
Oh yeah.
So River Run costs 0 additional, but this of course removes the ability for him to just attack, because this is his attack. You're going to get a momentum and a start. Pick a direction. You get to move any number of beasts, X spaces, in that direction. It's 3 dice. It hits on 50%, so usually you're only moving people 1 to 2 spaces. But I've seen rolls where you hit 3. And what if it's Camille? Again, auto fails.
Oh yeah.
Now maybe it's 4 or 6, you know, okay. And then activate Aqua Tail. So if he moves with them, he can pop them. This is a protect your, objectives, or protect your, because like with the Stone Golem, keep him on objective, move everyone else off of one. And in one really crazy situation, I had it where I moved everyone to this way, which put the Aquator onto the last objective space that I needed. So it sealed me up a trophy point at the end of the round for having all of them.
And if you're up against someone like Sheikah, who has lots of objectives that are hold the same objective you had before, hold 2 objectives, hold 3
Get
objectives,
all of them.
Just move everyone off. That can completely upset the game.
Yep. Well, yeah, and it's the Great Flood. Like, like that's what it is.
And it's so thematic too, because you can imagine all of the beasts just getting swept away by the deluge.
Yeah. Camille watched Detective Pikachu the other day.
Oh, yeah?
And that was the water scene where he kicks Gyarados, and finally Gyarados happens, and then a giant water thing washes them all. That's what I was thinking of when we were talking about River Run. And then just really basic objectives for him. Spend 2 momentum on beast abilities. I forgot to go over his other side. I'll get to that in a minute. But when I talk about the other side of the Aquator upgraded, you're going to see why spending 2 momentum on beast abilities is really cool. Score immediately if you move or push an opposing beast off an objective. This is a given.
Boy, how would you ever do that with the Aquator?
You should be able to do that very easily. This is a little harder. Score immediately if you roll all 4s and 5s while attacking or defending. Because it's not optimal for most of his attack cards. Defense, he's not rolling things down, so you don't necessarily always want to be rolling 4s and 5s. You want some of the 6s. Upgraded side really quick before Ben gets to the Dinotaur. He gets an additional health, so he goes to be a 6-3-2. Still has swimming, but now his survivalist, which was recycling and giving you a star, once he upgrades, it's now all allied beasts gain 1 focus.
Ooh, yeah.
And now Aqua Tail hits on 2, 4, and 5 with the 6 dice. So it goes from 5 dice, 50%, to 6 dice, 66%, right?
Yep.
And then the ability to give everyone focus is just
so powerful.
Pop a cube, focus up.
And there's enough focus to go around on the Titus team.
Yeah. So that is the Tide section of this video. Ben's going to finish this off with His Majesty.
Yeah, the Dinotaur. So, anyone who watched the last stream saw me activate this guy a lot and do some really cool things with them. So the activation token it's a little bit reminiscent of the Stone Golem from Sun and Stone. Whereas on that one you get to re-roll defense in the 2nd or 3rd slot. With Dinotaur you get to re-roll 2 of your attack dice when you activate from slot 2 and 3.
I would argue his is a little worse too, because the Stone Golem gets to exploit his without activating. right?
Right.
By sitting in that slot, he's rerolling.
Well, with the Stone Golem, it's up to your opponent how much you get out of that token.
Yeah.
Because a lot of the time, you don't even want to be attacking the Stone Golem if you have any other choice, because it's hard to knock out.
Yeah.
But in those cases where you do have it set up to screen for your team, or it's holding an important objective or things like that, and then you have Sheikah who can just, activate Stone Golem, activate, move the Stone Golem to the second slot, activate Sheikah, put Stone Golem back in the third slot again, and then back to the second slot. And yeah. So anyway, some nice symmetry there between those two. And that's great because Dynatar has really awesome attacks. So on the unupgraded side here, we have 5 health, 2 speed, 2 defense, Swift Kick. This is probably the best baseline way to spend momentum on Camille's side, I would say, from the early turns when you can't, stack up a bunch on her cards.
Right.
You may make a second attack action against a different target. So you just get to double your attacks as long as you can get into position.
Boom, boom.
Yep. And remember, too, that when you do an action, you can move attack or attack move. So even if you don't have 2 next to each other, you can attack if you're in position already.
Yeah.
Attack, move, attack again, and it makes it harder for your opponent to, I'll separate my team so I can't get double attacked.
Right.
Much harder to do that, especially when there's 2 speed. And then switch hit. 4 dice melee attack, misses on 2s and 4s, so it hits with most of the best dice you can roll. And it moves your target to a close space to the Dynatar. So you can hit him, then you can just put him any other legal
Yeah, it's like
spot.
he's using his, dinosaur legs.
Yep.
Kick, flip.
Sure. When upgraded, speed goes up to 3, so 5, 3, 2. Still has Swift Kick. It also has Ferocity, which means that it can spend its armor as focus, which is great, and we'll see why that is in a minute. And then Switch Hit goes up to 5 dice with only auto missing on 4, so it gets the 2s, gets an extra die.
No, it's not cool. That ability is dumb. It's so bonkers dumb.
It is very
When the
good.
Dynatar
Yeah.
gets flipped and you start seeing defense tokens or armor tokens stack on him, and you're like, so that's an HP and a focus?
Right. And
yes.
And it depends a lot on the synergy of the team. Like,
Yeah.
Camille obviously can give it an armor that it can then use as focus whenever it wants, but with someone like the Kingfisher, being able to give it 3
I'm gonna
armor...
throw you 3 armor
Yeah.
/ focus.
And this is why the focus is really great. I mean, focus is great to begin with, especially when you have 5 dice, and 5 and 6 are both hits.
Right.
So we have Chomp Chomp. Costs 1 extra energy, gives you a momentum and a beast power. Roll 5 dice, hit on 3, 4, 5, or 6. You can move up to 1 space before making the attack, so you have extra mobility. Focus may be committed to the attack after the dice are rolled, before you remove the auto fails.
Yeah, normally you have to call your shot.
Yep. Normally you have to say, I'm going to focus this attack, and if you roll nothing but 2s, you are focusing to a 2. This one...
Enjoy all 5 2s.
Yep. This one, you can say, all right, I got a 6 and a bunch of garbage. I'm going to make them all 6s. It doesn't save your auto fails.
No,
unless
but
you have
Camille
Camille.
saves
But
her,
yep.
yeah.
And also, it only auto fails on 1s and 2s, so you're hitting on 2/3 of them anyways.
And you're missing out on the least good
Right.
value you possibly could.
Right. So being able to commit that focus later and being able to stack focus so easily on the Dynatar just makes it a real powerhouse for this deck.
Well, and you're rolling dice simultaneously, so you're also seeing what your opponent's rolling.
Oh, right. Yeah,
so you have
that's
5
true.
dice, right?
And I can decide,
you roll
you roll
6 and a bunch
garbage
of 2s.
defense. I don't have to...
Or, opposite,
Yeah.
I roll 4 6s, and you're like, well, this attack isn't going to do more than 1 damage anyway,
Yep.
so I'm going to go waste the focus on it.
Yep.
So that's key.
All right, then we've got Coordination, another active card that can rotate out twice. This is a free action again, costs 1 energy, gives you a momentum, and it's whenever a friendly beast activates, Dynatar may move for free or gain 1 focus.
When you play that card and you see him making the noise, how do you picture it going?
I don't think I want to...
Sort of like a dolphin.
Dolphin?
Yeah.
Sure.
And
Go with
somehow all of the beasts in your team know what he's saying.
And the cool thing about this is that it's a free action, so you can say, I wish my Dynatar were over there, play this for an energy, activate whoever's in your 1 slot, move the Dynatar to where you wanted it to be.
Well, and I think that's important because it's an active card, too. It's not an upgrade, right?
Yep.
It's an active card, so you're only going to get a couple of turns out of it. It's important that it's a free action so that you can kind of like, okay, am I going to get the most value out of it, dropping it now, activating the Leaf Dragon,
Yep.
and then,
And then this also gives cool, speaking of synergies and how much we love Dynatar and Ignolupus, put the two of them together, Ignolupus gives additional attrition whenever it attacks with support. If you can activate the Ignolupus and then always be able to move the Dynatar in to support that attack, that's just a... And of course, Ignolupus has other synergies with support, and has objectives that require attacking with support. So
damn pack animals.
Yeah, yeah. And I think it's just kind of a great, like, the Dynatar and the Ignolupus kind of channel the same spiritual energy, you know? So
one is definitely more like hit harder, and one is or hit more often, and one is definitely more like, I just want to burn you.
Yeah. And then we've got In the Brush. So this is the upgrade for Dynatar. This is a very, very cool card. Costs 1 extra energy. You don't get to make an attack with it because it's not an attack card, but it gives you a beast power, and it gives stealth for 1, so it becomes untargetable in harsh or hindering terrain, so the water spaces effectively. And whenever it makes an attack from hindering terrain, you can move in 1 space, and 6s cannot be defended or cancelled. So if you're focusing your attack and you're focusing it after knowing that you rolled a 6, you literally hit every die.
It's the one-shot attack. Yeah. It's the Jurassic Park
right.
Velociraptor
Jump out of the bush.
From the bush.
Yeah.
Guy's face is gone.
Yep.
Back in the bush, tail.
Yeah. So this is a card that's good on its own, but when you start looking at the synergies that it has, it's just I love stuff like that where you see, oh, this card's good, but wait, I put them together and now they're doing something new and cool. So really
Reese's
fun stuff.
peanut butter cups.
Yeah, we were just talking about those.
People enjoy chocolate. People enjoy peanut butter.
Mm-hmm.
Put them together.
So then we've got a 1, 2, and 3 again here. The 1 is From the Bush. It has to be rotated once, and it's just attack with the beast from hindering terrain. So really simple and straightforward.
But useful, too, with the bark spray.
Mm-hmm.
Because he, too...
can get the bonus from hindering terrain.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, if you don't have any bonuses to hindering terrain, that can put you in a vulnerable position, because not only are you rolling down your attack, but you're going to roll down your defense if you stay there.
But all the characters that have swimming gain bonus. Well, they don't gain bonuses.
But they
don't
out.
Get negatives
right.
in hindering terrain.
Right.
They do have an advantage there.
We've got In Tandem. You activated all 3 of your beasts this round. 2 points, rotate twice. This is one of those ones that I love seeing in my opening hand, because I can pretty much know that I can at least drop it on the table turn 1 and then be able to redraw.
Yep.
And also with the Bark Sprite, that might screw you up a little bit because you might want to spend extra energy. But then
even turn 1, you have 5.
Yep.
You could afford to go 1.
Well, it depends on what you want to do with Camille usually. Yep. What cards you want to play.
Yep.
But then if you do that, then you're much more likely to be able to at no overhead score the next 3 rounds.
If that's in my opening hand, it's like Camille, Leaf Dragon, Dynatar, Bark Sprite.
Yep.
And I go Camille, then that, and I activate Bark Sprite.
Yep.
Probably second to last.
Yep. And then we've got Complete Focus. So this is 2 rotations, 3 points, spend a focus on an attack or defense roll this round. Again, we were just talking about how much focus you can generate, how you can spend armor as focus, things like that. So synergizes really well. Very powerful trophy card for the Dynatar. And that, I think, takes us to the end.
That's Tree and Tide.
Yeah.
That's Tree and Tide.
It is. That's Tree and Tide in a box about this big. Got any more questions in there?
I did not have any more questions.
All right. So we hinted that we might be showing something else off here. Do we want to do that, or do we want to wrap up Tree and Tide first?
Let's wrap up Tree and Tide first. So yeah, that. If you guys watched, there was an update the other day that had Edo's video from Pencil First Games, creator of Skull Hollow,
which is a great game, by the way.
Creator of, I'm blanking, but there's like multiple games. God, what is the gardening one that I'm blanking on?
I would not be able to help you with that.
Oh, it's a really good dice game. Anyway, Edo's awesome. Oh, Legendary Creatures he did too, which Pole owns. Fantastic content creator, good friend. Did a rundown kind of his copy of Sun and Stone that we sent quite some time ago, like during the last campaign. When was that?
January?
Yeah. So it was some time ago. He's a busy guy.
Yeah.
He's got his own Kickstarters.
Yeah, they're putting up games, putting up reviews.
But the things that he mentioned, I love his opinion. It's always straightforward. It's always honest. All the criticisms that Ben and I heard, and they weren't necessarily criticisms. They were just notes that he had, things that could be done better. We've definitely, I think, addressed those before he had even mentioned them. Like, one was the unified rule book.
Yeah.
We didn't want to have a rule book for each Beastmaster set we worked on. So let's put it all in one, all the keywords, all the... Okay. Two, I don't want to say making it more gateway, but I think when we change the way the boards are and the way the setup is, it just cleans up like an entire page of the rule book.
And you know what? It just looks better.
It does look better. It looks more. The art makes it look more concise. And the footprint remains relatively the same because the board is actually the same length that it always was. And now you're actually able to keep track of a few things on the board that you were not before.
And that just cleaned up some of the rules challenges too, with what's my board versus your board and where can I deploy and things like that.
Well, and deployment along the edges, that cleaned up with the 4 spaces. The objective tokens being displayed but not being covered up. Because I know that wasn't something he put in his video, but that was something that he did address privately, is that, a space can get kind of cluttered when you have like the stone golem and an objective token. It's a little bit easier to have like the space, the meeple, what is in the space.
Can you imagine trying to have the kingfisher and an objective token on on a hex?
It wouldn't be pleasant.
No.
And this, you had argued too when we started working on this that this was more variable.
Yes, because of the terrain setup.
Yeah, because even if the board is...
Yeah, I mean, even if there were more ways to twist the different boards and arrange them than there were ways to set up the terrain, which I'm pretty sure there's not.
Well, and there's not because of the size of the boards, the way that the hexes get cut on those boards. They can only align. They can only align like this, or like this, or like this.
But even if that were the case, even if there were more permutations of flipping the boards around and things than there is of setting up the terrain, I feel like the terrain is just so much more meaningful of a variation than the which side of the board connects to the other one. So we really appreciate the feedback we received from everyone about things that they thought that we could do to make the game better and address
starting spaces was what led to that.
Yeah.
Starting along the edge was really hectic because you could start along the edge and essentially get attacked turn 1, which is fine if that's how you choose to do it, right? I want to start here, they want to start here, we're going to go at it right away. The problem was respawning, like putting them out after a KO. I'll just put them out wherever. That's so powerful for something like the Leaf Dragon. Like, I'm just going to deploy it right in the middle of the board. That's really powerful. And so this kind of corrected the bias that some people... Factually, it's not a bias to stuff like the Stone Golem, but I can understand that it felt like that.
Yeah.
Yes. JK is asking about the changes to line of sight we mentioned in the first update.
Sure, yeah.
So line of sight in the first update was like middle, or in the first iteration of the rules, was middle of the hex to middle of the hex.
Right.
And that creates a lot of problems with this is touching...
Right, yeah. It was if you can draw a straight line from the middle of your hex to the middle of your target's hex without passing through any hex that is occupied by anything. That's line of sight.
And so it essentially made ranged attacks almost like...
It was like I
don't want to say pointless, but...
Well, I mean, it was easier to hit things that way, but it was just so difficult to figure out a lot of the time.
It was easier to hit things within 2 to 3 spaces, but very difficult because of the board setup and that rule to hit things 4 to 6 spaces, which was the intention of ranged attacks just being ranged attacks. You'll notice no ranged attack says range 3.
Right.
It's really every ranged attack is range 6, except for ice beam, which is range arena.
Yeah.
But the changes to line of sight, Ben, what are they now?
So now instead of that, it's a straight line rule. So you have to be able to I can't say orthogonally because it's not squares, it's hexes, but you have to follow basically a straight line of hexes. So you can go straight up this way or like straight off this way. But if I'm in this row, and Chris's guy's in this row, and like I'm here and he's here. There's not a straight line of hexes that I can go through for
But
that.
we also cleaned up, so now you can shoot through friendly spaces.
Yes.
Because you would assume that a team has trained together and practiced together enough to coordinate,
Dodge
like,
out.
I'm going to shoot this beam, and the Kingfisher is just going to kind of lean this way
Yep.
so it shoots you.
I mean, maybe the Kingfisher's a bad example, but
He just lays flat.
yeah. And so that made it much cleaner, but it also meant that for things like the bark sprite, because it only had one movement at first, it was hard to get it to line up with your opponent's.
He no longer has one movement. He
Yeah,
has two.
yep. So we changed it from 1 to 2 because of that. Because in the previous rule, you could usually shoot someone from any given space after one movement, but now it was because you're further away, and further away spots mean that that the divergence of the straight lines is greater. Like, this arc is a lot bigger than this arc down here.
But because of the movement before or after attacking, I think it's easier to do attacks now, and it's easier to calculate. It's quicker too, right?
Yeah,
like
that's the real.
Like that 8-year-old at 2D Con had
Yeah.
no problem like lasering in on.
Yep.
This is where I can shoot.
Yep.
And there's no like heat-seeking missiles or anything in this game.
Right.
So there's no
Yet.
need to yet. So there's no need to shoot around corners and stuff. But we also, with the terrain, played with line of sight because trees block it, but don't block movement. Boulders don't block line of sight. You can shoot over them, but they do block movement. And so there were just a few things that we cleaned up and played with. It's just a lot simpler.
Yep.
There's no if and then statements.
Yep.
It's just you can shoot in a straight line.
Yeah, and one of the things that we try to strive for in doing rules is how many words is it going to take to describe this rule,
Yep.
to explain it in a way that is that people will understand and that will not have ambiguity in it.
If I need 6 examples to
Yeah.
explain to you how line of sight works,
Yeah.
it creates a barrier to entry for a lot of people.
Yeah. And a barrier to execution even once you've learned the rule, because there's still, oh, hang on, I forgot, this corner case. Let me pull out
Well,
the rule
yeah,
book.
even cool mini live plays of games where they've had line of sight, and it's
Mhm.
like developers playing it. It's like, do we have line of sight to this?
Yeah.
Because, there's so many iterations of line of sight that you're like, which
Yeah.
one are we on?
Yeah, and actually, just to go slightly off tangent for a second here, I think that line of sight in games is so interesting in board games. And looking at ways that people solve it is just super fun. But it's one of those things I don't think anyone has solved in the platonically great way where we can all say, oh, this is completely functional and really easy. So,
Yes, it has been.
oh yeah, what's that?
Miniatures games.
The
I have a ruler
Ruler, yeah.
this long, like Star Wars Legion and stuff. I have a ruler this long. Anything in here is within the range of my weapon. If I can see you, I can shoot you. But then there's a physical demonstration of terrain. The ruler doesn't go through the terrain. There you go. You can't see him.
I don't think that's perfect though.
I think it's as good as gaming has gotten, but still, yes, not perfect. And then, of course, there's the Zombicide First Edition, where line of sight is like, yeah, shoot that square, but you're going to hit your buddy, too. And it's
Right.
like, okay. Sorry, zombies.
I like the D&D 5th edition rule that I use when I'm DMing of, yeah, sure, you can shoot through your buddies, but if you get a natural 1, someone might get hurt.
Yeah, that's usually what it is.
Yeah.
So yeah, JK, it's just the first. Do we have the first rule book over there? Can you grab
I can
grab
check.
the Sun and Stone box? You might as well look at grabbing another box.
Oh, are there other boxes over here?
So let me just JK address for a second. The setup of the book. So I want to talk about line of sight and setup because I feel like the two are interwoven. So setup takes up literally 2 pages of rules, and cut down to 1 paragraph.
Yeah.
Here's how you put out terrain.
Yeah.
Line of sight is actually a whole page of rules that can now be condensed to straight line.
Yep.
Here's where you can hit.
Yep, and just a little graphic.
Right. Yeah, draw a line from the center of the beast's hex to the center of the target's hex without going through beasts or blocking terrain. So you could shoot through harsh terrain, of course. Yeah, I'm okay cutting out 3 pages essentially and replacing them with 2 paragraphs and a graphic.
Yeah.
Much simpler, much easier. Does anyone else have any questions? We would love to address them.
We sure would.
Are you really just trying to like hide something in your lap?
Oh no,
that's funny.
Yeah.
Yeah. Other changes since JK brought it up. Other changes in the rules when we originally sat down to start writing these. There were a few things that just I don't want to say they felt the first player to pass gains 1 star. Trophy cards, right? So it's like right here. We removed this rule from the rule book. And now there's a token that represents it. With the Kickstarter, I think one of the tokens is the opposite. So it's like gain momentum instead of a star.
Yep.
You can pick whichever one you want.
Yep.
Doesn't tell you which one to pick. It just says put one of the tokens up. So there, we've cleaned up a paragraph that's out of place and a rule that I think some people forget. To a rule and token on the board as a reminder.
Right, yeah. Rules like that are sort of triggers of when you do this, then remember that you also have to do this thing. Taking that and putting it onto the component so that you have the physical star on the thing that says gain. When you pass, take this, gain star.
Oh, my bad. Here's a whole nother half the page about line of sight with ranged targets. Also be able to cut out that. Yeah, and then the objective tokens, that whole setup portion has been removed. Because now objective tokens are obviously...
Yeah, so the objective tokens, we still have the same thing where they are randomized, but instead of having the tokens on the spaces on the board, there are set spaces on the board that have the symbol printed on it for like triangle, circle, square.
Yep.
And then you randomize those 3 tokens, you set them out on the side of the board on the, down here it has
it's like a legend,
circle, square.
like
it's a little legend.
Yeah.
And then, so you don't have to have the actual token out there that you're bumping into and having to set your meeple up awkwardly next to.
And then, so Ben and I will drop a little bit of a teaser while we wait to see if there are any other questions before shutting this down. On the back of this rule book, we sort of like light tease announced that more Beastmasters was coming. And that was a prelude to the Tree and Tide campaign and box that you're seeing now. So Ben, if you would like to show them what may be coming after that for Beastmasters.
So we have this beautiful looking box here.
Get it closer if you want so they can actually see. Brian found the Tree and Tide BGG post, so this has no BGG post to my knowledge.
Yeah, not as far as I know either.
Specifically because of people like Brian. But good catch. What can people expect in City and Splendor?
Well, they can expect new trainers, new beasts, new cards, objectives, everything.
Why don't I preview this? Why don't you grab the board?
Oh.
Yeah.
Where is it?
It is in that white tube right here.
Oh, right here.
Yep. So, new beasts, Ben says. So, City and Splendor has a new title beast, one of my favorites. It has a large jelly. Yes, it's translucent, not the meeple. The meeple is not I want to reiterate, the meeple is not translucent.
Right.
It has a tortoise with a diamond shell. It has a monkey with the ability to teleport in the shadows.
It's Nightcrawler Monkey.
It is a night. That's not his official name. It's a Nightcrawler Monkey. It also has... I have to sift through tokens. We were organizing these after the last convention. Uh-oh, there it is. It has a lightning fox. It has a very... this is not body shaming, but this is a really full-bellied... it's called an Ember Nochi. And it, of course, has new trainers. You saw them on the box cover. One is a cheater and a liar and a terrible person, and the other is a sweet girl from the city who just wants to be the very best.
Yep.
And if you guys have seen the board previews that we've done for some of these, this is the color scheme of the City and Splendor one. This is meant to, this isn't the water area, this is the capital. And so you'll notice the brick tiling, you've got water areas. This has some starting spaces that are right in the middle of the board too that I think are really neat. And this has the most basic triangle setup where two objectives are really close to starting spaces. One is down here, super contested.
Yep.
And then what is the terrain again for the City and Splendor right now while we're working on it?
So we've got 6 pillars, 1 boulder, 1 tree.
Yeah, so 6 pillars.
So very, very obstructed because those are the ones that block line of sight and movement.
Yep.
But then also not a whole lot in the way of hindering or harsh terrain here. So we've kind of shifted the terrain.
You got a ton
balance.
of water and a ton of water.
That's true. You have the spot up here that has a lot of water,
You have
but
a
it's
couple,
a little
older areas.
Yeah, it's a little. This is actually supposed to have the water, the blue
This
outlines.
is all prototype
it's
stuff.
just the prototype, but we didn't get that layer on there for some reason. I'll blame Chris.
I'll blame Chris too.
Okay, good. We're on the same page.
That's son of a. So yeah, as you can see, the color scheme there is meant to be a little bit more regal, whereas the lush, tree and tide. Adam says, "All right, thanks for the sneak peek. Those look awesome. Thanks."
Yeah.
I will say that City and Splendor is our craziest set.
Yes. No set before this has had a creature that is literally a jelly.
Well, and the jelly, the dude is like all upgrades.
Do you want to show him the?
We have the cards prototyped and are balancing them. I don't know if I want to start previewing these. Are there any you want to start previewing?
I was thinking about this one in particular because I just love the art so much.
You can show them a jelly cannon if you want.
All right, so we've got one here for the jelly. This is an upgrade called Powered Up. The jelly's thing is that it can just turn into whatever you want it to be whenever you want it to be that thing. So in this case, it just becomes a big cannon that shoots cannonballs that are presumably also the jelly out of itself. So this is a reach 4 attack. It's an upgrade, so it can stay out there. It uses focus to give additional wounds instead of the normal focus thing, and it gives the jelly a ranged attack that it can always use with really good dice. So I just really
the
jelly
can do anything.
Yeah. Yep.
Anything.
Yep.
Adam asks, how did we come up with the name City and Splendor?
How did we, Chris? That was all you.
Sun and Stone.
Mm-hmm.
Tree and Tide. Actually, City and Splendor is C and S.
Yeah.
Right. Sun and
Yeah.
So it's
still alliterative. It's still alliterative. It's
it
just not.
Sounds similar. I think it comes from like the Pokemon derivation stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm not saying let's copy Pokemon because we don't try to do that. A lot of ours are like real life animal inspired. Mm-hmm. Pokemon's are too, but just ours are in a different way. Yeah. Like, we don't have a teacup ghost. Like there's nothing.
We don't have a teacup ghost yet.
In these sets.
Stay tuned.
Season 2. But the City and Splendor kind of came from like, okay, so Sun and Stone is more like your rural tournament, right? It's the Mesa tournament, it's more rural. Mm-hmm. Tree and Tide was meant to be like, oh, the Fertelis region of the world is holding their tournament. Look at how lush and wonder. That's more like the suburbs. Mm-hmm. But then you get to City and Splendor and it's like, what would the capital look like?
Right.
It would look grand, and there's glitter and, glam. And so what would the trainers look like there? Do you want to preview? Here are a couple of cards that I think are really neat.
Oh, sure.
But hold on, because I'm going to have I'm looking for the best card.
Oh, yeah, of course.
And while you're doing that, JK says, will there be terrain tokens for Sun and Stone? We will discuss that in about 3 minutes.
Okay,
so
sweet.
Toss that up.
All right, so we've got an upgrade for the Ember Nochi here. This is the machine gun attack. It can be put out for 1 energy, gives you a beast power.
You got to get that up close.
Oh.
They want to see the.
Oh, yeah.
They want to see the machine.
Well, I don't have the numbers memorized on these cards.
Just get up just tell them it's a machine gun.
Okay, I'll just stand back here. So make this attack against each beast in range. Focus may be committed after rolling your attack dice before removing auto fails. That's very powerful.
That's a giant Nochi with seeds in his mouth that he is spitting.
Yep. And it is a ranged attack with 4 dice and 4 hits.
I'm gonna steal this from you, and I'm gonna make you do this one.
All right. So, spin to win with an exclamation mark and everything in the title. 2 extra energy, but it moves 4 spaces in a straight line and makes a really huge attack. It ignores occupied spaces and terrain and things like that.
It's a turtle with a diamond shell spinning.
Yep.
There's no stopping that.
Yep. And then also everyone gets 2 attrition after the damage is dealt. So very high damage attack, but also very expensive. And like all of the line attacks in this game, it can be hard to set up because
if you thought though that Kingfisher or Stone Golem were defensive characters.
Yeah. And then my favorite named card out of the entire 3 sets, just straight up bribes with, and again, Ellie's art in this card is just fantastic with the dollar bills fluttering down. And this just lets you rotate an active objective card forward, and then you can gain stars equal to the number of momentum you placed out. But this costs 2 extra energy. It doesn't actually do anything to like advance your board state, and you already have to have gotten that card down, so you can't just score something that you've never even triggered.
So there's a sleazy trainer.
Yep.
There is a fun trainer.
Yep.
And a turtle.
And a turtle.
A monkey.
And a jelly.
And a
jelly that turns into a cannon
and
a hammer.
A lightning fox.
Yep.
That stuff is all prototype, all still being worked on. Ben, would you grab the tube, because there is another board in there.
Which one?
That one. Not that one, the other one.
Oh.
I said that one while Ben was holding 2.
Yeah, that wasn't a very good descriptor.
Show it.
So, this is what the Sun and Stone board will look like. It will not be... The default will not be neoprene, correct?
Well, yeah, this is a $30 MSRP.
Yeah. Yeah. We're not increasing the MSRP by $30 to bring you this mat. It'll be cardboard.
Yeah, and it'll be smaller. The mats are way bigger than the boards actually need to be because we like the big presents for demos. But in the bottom left-hand corner, JK, if you're looking at terrain, why don't you pull that up closer to the camera? The new board and new tokens will be in the new version of Sun and Stone. And before anyone asks, yes, lift it up so the right part here is...
Oh, yeah, sorry. I'm trying to view this through the lag. There we go. Okay. Yep.
So yes, there will be terrain tokens in the new Sun and Stone. We are looking, I believe, at ways to release them for people that own the original Sun and Stone without having to buy new meeples or new dice or new tokens and cards, since all of those are the exact same. Think of it like a boxless upgrade kit, is I believe how it was described originally. But yeah, there will be. I actually thought that was clarified, but if not, that should be made note of.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And clarified somewhere.
For sure.
Right. And that is all the spoilers that I think we have.
Yep.
Oh, have people seen the actual pillars?
Oh, yeah.
Because the pillars are not. These are the full together pillars. Sun and Stone, I believe, has the broken ones.
I think they're broken pillars in here. Oh, no, maybe not.
No, because Tree and Tide doesn't have any pillars.
Oh, right.
It's all trees and boulders and water. Sun and Stone, on the other hand, is rural. They ain't got the money to fix these pillars, so these pillars are broken. And Byron, Northern Lights Terrain, they do all of our custom meeple cuts and stuff. They do an amazing job.
Yep. Sure do.
That is Tree and Tide,
Yeah.
City and Splendor. And then some Sun and Stone stuff. If there's any other questions you guys have, shoot them out now before Ben and I close down the stream and get back to balancing things. And
Yep. All the other stuff we got going on. No, of course not. We only work on Beastmasters. That's all we 100% 24/7 Beastmasters.
I live and breathe Beastmasters. Someone asked if we were going to do an upgrade kit to change them to minis.
Mm-hmm.
I have debated suggesting that so many times. Like, do you do a new game with minis? Or do you just release a really, like, amiibo-style pre-painted mini pack someday? God, that would be cool. JK says fantastic. Hey, JK, honestly, thanks for joining the stream, man. I know there's not a lot of you guys, so questions that you have, we love answering them. This is literally what we love to do. Sit and answer questions, talk to you guys, and talk about beasts.
Yes, and their masters.
That is my favorite cut, by the way,
That's
out
a
of this.
fantastic
Can you get a close-up there? The Aquater is probably my favorite beast of this set in terms of cut. Get down. Dog. More just because that tail and the whiskers pop. Yeah. Alright, well. I have been Chris.
I've been Ben.
And we loved spending the day with you guys talking about Tree and Tide. Final 5 days of the campaign. Funded retail stores, local retail stores. We honestly couldn't do this stuff without you guys. So you telling us like that Sun and Stone is sold out, that literally means everything.
Yep.
Not just because of the work that's put in developing it, but because that means people are actually pulling a box that has our names on it off the shelf and saying, I want it. And if you guys are not busy and live in Minnesota, Ben and I will be toiling away in the St. Cloud area on the weekend of the 21st and 22nd at LionCon. Demoing Beastmasters.
Among other things.
Of course, yes. Thank you guys for the stream. Can't wait for the Kickstarter and get the game. Adam, thank you as well so much for joining us, man. Thank you for the questions. I think this is both streams that you've had questions, and that means a lot to us as well.
Yeah.
So thank you for joining us. Thank you guys for being a part of the campaign. Ben?
Yeah. Thank you so much. It's always a great pleasure, and we will see you guys around.
Close us out.
All right.
I'll do music. You can end the stream.
Okay.
Ba-da-ba-ba-ba.
We're going to stop that right now before it goes any further. Where's OBS?
6 cancellations.
Where's
What's
OBS? Okay. Thank you very much, guys. Bye-bye.